So let's see. All right, Napoli, Italy, thank you for showing up. She's here. South Africa, thank you. All around the world, we are in the space. This is a beautiful thing. So thank you all for joining us.
Hey.
You're here. Let's find you. There we are.
Greetings, greetings.
Okay.
So,
all right. So Jah9, you can hear me, right?
I can hear you. And I'm looking at all the lovely people tuning in. Lots of foreigners. Are there any students here?
They are. If you are a student, let's
hey,
maybe you
I
can
see some student-looking people. Okay.
your hands. Is there a wave feature? Put a reaction in there. If you're a student,
yeah, let me see your hands. Where are the students at? Ooh,
clap your hands.
even G small. Wow. All right, nice. Have a nice little number. Okay, good.
Good to see all of you. Thank you for getting in here. The internet does what it wants to do, right? But everyone's looking very beautiful.
Welcome, welcome.
This is going to be the Decoding Jah9's Note to Self event. And I'm here. I think I need to let a few more people in. Okay. Goodness gracious. Jah9, this is you. You have what? 78 people here? Okay. So, a few things that we should discuss. Right?
Do this. I had the intention of being on campus, people in Jamaica, live and direct. But unfortunately, or fortunately, you know, the divine had other plans for us for the, past few months. So we have the opportunity now to gather in this way, which means way more people have access to this session than would have, if we just did it on campus. But it was a real interesting process. It always is an interesting process putting an album together. And this being my third album, I approached it differently than I did the past two. And I know there are people who probably have questions or have their own ideas about what things mean. And for me, it's always important that songs and even structure of how a record is put together, there are layers and levels to it so that every time you listen to it, you may be able to decode a bit more of it yourself. So what I will do today is, as we go through the songs, there are questions that the literature department of the University of West Indies put through. But if there are additional questions, you can always feed them in the chat, and the goodly Professor Hall will screen through and make sure that, if your questions aren't addressed in the questions that exist, we will put them forward. If it's an interesting question, if it's like a lame question that you're gonna get the answer for online, then nobody ask it. But if you have a good question to ask, we're here for you.
Absolutely.
So blessed love to everyone. And let's get it kicked off.
Yes, here we are. Okay, just pressing mute and letting a few more people in. Yes, thank you all for coming, and thank you, Jah9, for that that explanation, that additional explanation of what it is that was happening here today. So I'm going to clarify just a couple of things so that we can be on the same page, right? So again, I'm Dr. Isis Semaj-Hall. I'm a lecturer here at the Department of Literatures and English at the University of the West Indies, MONA. Myself, and I suppose I'm trained to be a cultural analyst and Caribbean literature and can you try to just, I'm turning mute on for everyone, so let's try to keep them so there's not too much feedback. But I specialize in Caribbean literature, popular culture, and all things that are dub. So welcome again, welcome, 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 and especially a big welcome to Jah9 for being able to join us. Now, in today's session, I'll probably wind up using the term or the phrase reggae poetry to describe Jah9's work. So let me just explain some critical points related to that term reggae poetry. And I think it might be interesting to explain via a story. 8 years ago, almost to the day, a concerned Jamaican citizen sued the Jamaica Gleaner newspaper to dismiss the reggae poetry course at the University of the West Indies, Mona. And they dismissed it, saying that this is a class they believed would bring, quote, zero value to the job market, okay? Which is to say that that concerned citizen believed that university courses are only worthwhile if that course can create a job. The citizen believed that studying the lyrical content of Jamaica's popular music was a waste of time to study. They thought that, and I don't know how they could. How could it be a waste of time to study the self? Reggae poetry isn't just entertainment. It isn't just a song you absent-mindedly sing along to. Reggae poetry is drum, is bass, is word. It is word, sound, power. And for decades, this music has brought international attention to this small island in the Caribbean archipelago. And in the years since that op-ed piece was written in 2012, Jamaica's music culture has made Kingston a designated UNESCO creative city of music. But more importantly than the global attention and the global recognition, for the revolutionary artists like Jah9, for those artists with a message of hope and strength, this reggae poetry has been their pulpit and their platform. For the artists like Jah9, with a calling to stand before a microphone and cast a bright light upon the world, this reggae poetry has been a saving grace. Reggae's poets tell the history of Jamaica. Reggae's poets like Jah9, are making sense of the contemporary world that they exist within, the world they have inherited, and the world they long to see unfold. For these reasons, we study their words. For these reasons, reggae poetry continues to be a full and popular course for students here at the UWI Mona. Just as the novelists write books or playwrights stage plays, the reggae poets have created critical national sound archives. For these reasons, reggae poetry matters. And for these reasons, this decoding session is taking place. So to my students in the 2020 reggae poetry course, I welcome you and I'm glad you're here. And to Professor Carolyn Cooper, who launched this course, thank you. I appreciate you, and I know that you are in this space as well. And of course, I will add that Professor Cooper beautifully replied to that concern in the Gleaner. So if you would like to check it out, it's definitely worth the Google search to see what it is that she's that individual straight. All right, so with a bit of clarity on what reggae poetry is and what this reggae does as poetry out of the way, let's focus our attention on Jah9, the self-proclaimed social scientist who is traveling incognito as a Rastafari artist. Yes, Jah9. She carries memories of St. James and Falmouth, Trelawney in her heart. She carries Jamaica's capital city in her mind. And she is presently grounded at home in East Africa. Jah9 released her first album, New Name, in 2013. She released 9 in 2016. And on March 13th, 2020, Jah9 gave the world 15 tracks of powerful poetry called Note to Self. And today we will dig deep into these songs, these chants, and affirmations of reflection. Today we will decode Jah9's reggae poetry that was so beautifully produced as her Note to Self. Jah9, we are ready for the feeling. So let us start decoding this reggae poetry. Now, if all goes well, I will snap my fingers and just kidding. I'm going to share a screen and see if that will let the music flow.
Tell me what you're ready for. Tell me what you're ready for. We're ready for the feeling, no. We're never gonna be let down, no. We're ready for go ceiling, no. And it's heaven when we set it, how we wheel it, oh, no. We're ready for the feeling, no. We're never gonna be let down, no. We're ready for go ceiling, no. And it's heaven when we set it, how we wheel it, oh, no. What is in an open road that should frighten you and make you lose your composure? The mind can be your greatest foe when you do not know what's lurking over your shoulder. But energy will light your way. It's not accidental in the life of a soldier. In this battle for a brighter day, it's obvious that you slay the things that try to hold you. So just forget about the past. All that didn't take and all the non-believers.
Okay, we can't play the whole tune because, you know, we'll be partying all day and we will maximize our time. So here's my question, okay? Here's my question as I admit some more people. Now, the students of the reggae poetry course were curious about the mobilizing effect of the album's first track, Heaven, Ready for the Feeling. Now, after that bold, abang-like horns, those horns that Jeremy Harding added to this song, you make this demand. Tell me what you're ready for. Was that good? Tell me what you're ready for. So can you tell us what you're ready for? What are you sealing and what is the feeling, Jah9?
Great. I like how you described that, Isis. She's so good with words. Oh my gosh, I love her. Okay, so ready for the feeling. I generally start by explaining that heaven, in my perspective, is not a place you go to when you die. Yeah? This heaven, this concept of heaven for me. And just a disclaimer going down the line, the views expressed are my opinions based on you don't agree, this is not of my creativity stories. So for me, heaven is a state of mind. And you can be in heaven or hell based on your choices, based on how you are living your life, the things you are choosing to do or not do. So what I am ready for is heaven. I'm ready to have heaven as a constant in my life. And that doesn't mean that I only have good times. It means that even when it isn't a great time, I'm still able to find the benefit, even in adversity. Yes? And in doing so, I protect my mental health, because this song is really about mental health. Yeah? Because it is in heaven, because that really is where, you know, where we dwell, in heaven, if we so choose. So that's what I'm ready for. I'm ready for a constant state of heaven.
I like that. All right, check your chat. You see anything to respond to? Someone's asking about what yoga pose is of the video.
The yoga pose at the end of the video is lotus. And lotus is a heavens, definitely pose, because the idea of the lotus flower is that it blooms into 1,000 petals, which is where meditation brings you to a state of openness to the complete potential of everything around you and the universe and whatever phrases. And let's not get caught up in semantics tonight or today, wherever you are, right? Because English language is already a limitation. So let's understand when we say, you know, words like the universe, we could be talking about the God, we could be talking about all different kinds of things depending on how you interpret it. But that opening of the lotus flower is like an opening of the crown chakra, the opening of the way, you know?
Nice. I think we're off to a robust start. So let's just move right into the second song, because we're going to have some surprises and goodies later. We want to make this time. Mm-hmm.
David Kennedy.
twisted mission to make a great impression, to boost the likes and ratings, making friendships just to get ahead. As jaded as the walking dead, becoming the norm as corruption spread. But truth is always waiting. Much of us we've been taught to love warfare. Are just moments on the journey here. We must choose what we keep or let go. Believe what you're told, or seek and but know to each his own. Each man stands alone. We each must agree. A sacrifice or an offering, and what we pay will be
Okay. Pull up. So the hardest thing, of course, is that we have to stop playing the music. I know. But the question, I think, is a good question that maybe has a big answer. Okay? So to each is a saying that is old as this, right? It means that you should not judge another. But it doesn't seem that that's all you mean when you say each man stands. In ancient Egyptian purview, the goddess Ma'at represents truth, harmony, and balance. In Egyptian spirituality, Osiris, my brother husband, the god of the dead, would carry out a rite to determine passage into the afterlife. The heart of the deceased would be weighed against the feather of Ma'at. A good life, free of corruption and wrongdoing, would be as light as the feather of Ma'at. And with that balance, one could enter the afterlife. Can you, Jah9, can you talk about how that kind of balance is working in the poetics of Ma'at? Can you speak more broadly also perhaps about Egypt, Kemet, and how that plays into your music and your general world outlook?
Okay, holy things you said, so sister. So, as you said, and thank you for giving that, explanation of the context for Ma'at. What I will say is when you imagine a life free of corruption and wrongdoing, we all fall short. Like, unless you are an infant out of your mother's womb, you will fall short. We may fall short in different ways, yeah? Some of us might fall short because of how we treat ourselves. Still fall short because you are also your responsibility. And then you have some people where their corruption is obvious. And sometimes the tendency is to think, oh, your sins are worse than mine, so, I can't judge you. And a lot of times it is projection. A lot of times it is because of how you feel about yourself or because of somebody else's wrongdoing, triggering something inside of you, it gives you, it creates this air of self-righteousness where, oh, look, you've done this, you know what I mean? And you find that everywhere. And I mean, as growing up, like, I have to say, like, I grew up in the church. I really grew up in a little bubble where I didn't really see a lot of outright wrongdoing in my immediate environment. And I think it kind of had the result of making me a little self-righteous when I was younger. So, like, I was very much like, you're not supposed to do it. I was that one, I was that one to my older siblings as well. So I had to kind of, like, life really taught me the hard way a lot of times that you kind of have to balance, within yourself, because as you grow older and you make more mistakes and you realize, oh, that's probably why that happened to that person. It really, allows you to form things like compassion and understanding and these kinds of things, which are very, very crucial in everyday life. And even on this trad as Rastafari, you find that there is so much judgment within the space. Any religion, like generally, any organization that has rules is going to create some kind of system to judge those who break the rules, yeah?
Yeah.
Which is why I'm not really a part of many organizations. So we all fall short. Even in the Bible for the churchgoers, we all fall short of the glory of God. And all these things. So to aim for perfection, placing yourself in that place of humility and compassion, because as you grow older, experience will teach you that You know, this journey is a process, and it really is about how you can stand and face your judgment day. And you'll also over that song Heaven brings you into this conversation about your judgment day, right? Two concepts that come out of that context and put them in a spiritual context to say you can create heaven every day, right? And your judgment day is every night for you. This is a place where you're holy power as well. So sometimes you carry things into your dreams that you would never utter out loud what you just dream. And you, whether cause is God, the universe. And the matter is, judgment is not for you to do, even on yourself. You need to just find that balance and keep working toward your goal.
Yeah, thank you.
Almost.
Let me see if there's a question in here. I'm seeing lots of greetings. So, Jah9, say hello to all the good people.
Say hello to
all the good people that are here. And
bless up all the good people who are on Lamu. I don't know where you are from. I see some people from Germany, from the US, from Jamaica, clearly, from America, KKK, which part else in the day? Lamu, woo, Napoli, blessed love.
All right, we move to the third track.
My mind travels back and forth between all of the different things I have to be. Some of my steps taken to come, observing the consequences and outcomes already exposed, the weight of expectations, legitimate or not, and even how these very words may ricochet in this glass room.
Okay, we stop there. We stop. And this is the question, okay? So the instrumentation here produces a wind-wrapped effect. Your voice is the calm in this stormy interlude. But to imagine the mind as a storm, because this track is called Mind Storm, to imagine the mind as a storm seems to propose that an individual has two options. The first is to be swept away or submerged by the storm of stress that surrounds us. And the second option is to keep the mind calm and be the eye of the storm in stress. How, for you, does the mind storm work?
Be the eye of the storm. So we have the different levels of the self. Are you the projected self? Are you your personality? Or are you the indwelling divine? Where are you going to align your will? Where are you acting from? Are you acting from your personality place, which is affected by outside? Or are you acting from your God place, which is centered and meditative? Yeah. So mind storm, as opposed to brainstorm, which feels like a physiological thing. Mind storm goes to show that this is a limitless expanse. So to have a storm raging in a space like this could be potentially debilitating. Yeah. And when you look at the context we're in right now, in the state of the world, you realize, yeah, there is a lot of mind storm happening because people are forced to be alone with their minds. And this is an opportunity to be very introspective, but at the same time, you have to remember what you were taught in the previous song, which is to balance in a space of non-judgment, even of self. In the midst of the storm, it is important to remember to be gentle with yourself and to remember that you will not break. And if you want to go back now to the religious analogies, and you remember when the Christ was on the boat and the storm was raging and everybody wondering, oh, you so calm. It is because of his knowledge that he was actually the one that was in control. So it's kind of that, like when you don't identify with the divine indwelling, that is when you start to feel like, oh my gosh, these things are, oh, I don't know. But when you center yourself and find your breath, and it is the breath that will help us with this meditation, that will help us to reach this place. It's like there's no going around the importance of a relationship with your breath and counting the breath and using the breath to still the physiological body and the mind. So Mindstorm is an opportunity to be gentle. And that is why now in your glass house, yes, it's not just about throwing stones, you know, right? It's about protecting that space. You know, we could have used the analogy of a bull in a china shop. There are spaces where you have to be gentle. And as Jamaicans, we're not always gentle with other people or ourselves. And being here in East Africa really is a lesson in that, because these are gentle people. So I am facing a lot of my own self and my own, sometimes, violence in a sense, even with my personality and what I might think is just my personality. I'm learning, no, these are things you have kind of, you know, programmed into yourself little by little because everybody else around you was that way. So doing those self-checks is really, really crucial. But being gentle in the midst of that is still crucial. So you can be in the midst of the storm, but you don't have to be the storm, you know?
Thank you, Jenna. I'm certainly, I mean,
we are each other. Yes, Dottie.
Interlude track. It's a sharp visual. Ricochet in this glass room. Definitely that reference to, if you live in a glass house, do not throw stones. This idea of judging oneself too harshly. Thank you for that explanation, and thank you for the visuals. Okay, we go to the next track. Of course, while I'm queuing, if there's something exciting happening in the chat, please discuss.
People them like the insight, that is good. Gentleness has been my mantra for me in the past year. You know? So again, this is what brings us now to the note to self. I'm going to be okay.
May not say exactly how I'm feeling, the hurt and the hate and the love I'm receiving. I'm gonna be okay. I tell myself while I'm breathing, it's gonna be okay. Remember, I said Jah9's sleeping. Even when the news channel where the TV they put, those of the children leaders brandishing atomic weapons. They get them in world peace, spreading mass depression, and then divide and leading them in the wrong direction. Still I can feel the Almighty working when I take a deep little searching, I find your love isn't fine. You're looking quite fine. Even if it isn't, I'm going to be okay. It's what I tell myself. I'm going to be okay. Don't watch nobody else. I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. Stresses are common threat to my happiness. But if I let it get too deep, it's too deep. Ooh, yeah, yeah. In a depressive state, I tell myself it's trying to run on the fence. I tell myself there's reason to celebrate. Things will be great. I'm going to be okay. That's what I say. I'm going to be okay. Don't watch somebody else. I'm going to be okay.
Okay, I think we're going to be okay. All right, so that is track 4. Okay, track 4. This song has been the song of uplift for many listeners who have felt overwhelmed by the current pandemic coronavirus. All right. Now, Chronix lends his talents to this song, and his words can easily speak to today's time. Prophetically, he says, Even when the news channel with a TV dip on, showing leaders brandishing atomic weapon, threatening world peace, spreading mass depression. It sounds like he's talking prophetically about right now, right? But there's more to it than that, right? You've spoken before about this song as speaking to the value of yoga and breath work. For example, you sing, I'm going to be okay, I tell myself while I'm breathing. But this song is also about faith in Jah, as your lyrics say in the final verse, right? So I think that the breath work is more apparent, but maybe there has to be peeled back to think about how Jah is serving you in the lyrics. So in the final verse, you say, sometimes I feel so much that I get overcome, but Jah love is real. And surely that is where the lesson is from. And even if it isn't, I'm going to be okay. That's what I tell myself, I'm going to be okay. So can you give us some insight into the closing lyrics and what comfort Jah love provides?
So if you've been following from the beginning of this discussion, I've addressed the significance of the breath. I will reiterate the significance of the breath, just so you understand how this is all flowing as one conversation, yeah? Now, how do we access God, the Most High, Jah, the universal creator, whatever words or phrases you use to kind of allude to that divine within us, yes? Because I don't believe in a man in the sky, right? So the ancients of Kemet and later on of the Indus Kush and throughout all of the indigenous traditions of the world, it is within yourself that you have to go to find the Most High. It is not an outward search. So there are things you can do and outside rituals and rites and rites that your religions might teach you, but you will never truly access that feeling of connection with the Most High without the breath. It is the breath that will bring you to the meditation that is going to, you know, reveal yourself to yourself. Because what really is the Most High? I mean, fortunately for me, the word Jah is actually in my name. And so every time I call on Jah, for me personally, it is a reminder to self. I feel very, very blessed by that because that word Jah gets thrown around a lot within certain cultures. But for me, you can call it by your own name. You can say, oh, when you're praying, quote unquote praying, call your own name. Dottie, whatever your name is, Isis, you see me? Call your own name. I, Emily, Roberta, Benjamin, whatever it is. Because who else is God? Please remember the views expressed are, yeah. So in saying that now, I bring to mind the fact that you have to connect with yourself. This is again a reiteration from the earlier songs, so that by the time you get here, you understand why it's okay to know that you're going to be okay, because what? Your okayness is your decision, yeah? It will be your choices that make you okay. Not just your choices outside, but your choices inside. You are in control of your mind. These songs on the album speak of self-love. They speak of self-study, and most crucially, they speak of self-governance. Yeah, because it is you, not your leaders. Yeah, it is the leadership of your will over your mind. And that is what being okay and that song okay is all about. And the way I presented this song, I wanted it to feel like a lullaby. I wanted it to feel like something that the way I sang it was the softest I've ever delivered any song, because it's hard-hitting things, but you do have to, you know what I mean? And it is a bit prophetic. I got a lot of fight to do this song, to do some of these songs, but I knew that there was a reason why I was inspired to do this album this way. So when I saw what was happening in the state of the world and when the album was going to drop and when this song was going to drop, I was like, okay, Jah, it was no. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that. I mean, it's interesting to hear you talking about God and considering the title of the album, the title of this song, Note to Self, is okay. A question that came up in the chat about
Exactly.
in the vast ocean for the video. Can you talk about that?
About the boat in the ocean, because it's that, you see me? Remember, what comes right before this? The mind storm. So the mind storm is what brings us here, and I said, these are the words, this is the mantra you repeat during the storm. This is how we center ourselves. We close our eyes and we go inside, because closing your eyes brings you to a different place, you know, right? Because you have the physical reality that is this holographic reality we live in, where things, you know, the collective decision on, okay, this is real and that is real, and we can go on and on about that. But once we close our eyes, center ourselves, center our breath, and start to count and literally slow down our digestion, our circulatory system, you have a different access to yourself. And you cannot understand what I'm saying until you have practiced this. This is why for this song, we created that animated video, right? I don't know if any of you have seen it. You can go on my thing and see it as well. It is a 4-part breath, where we break the breath down into 4 parts to encourage people. This is how you literally breathe. Like, you breathe from your lowest part of your abdomen, you inhale slowly through your nose, you hold it, because retention is the fire. Like, this is where everything is born. So we're going outside of the realms of reggae and whatever, but trust me, this is the important work. This is the important work. Conducting yourself through the breath, connecting with yourself through the breath.
Thank you. All right, the next tune is Field Trip.
Traveling through inner space, slowing at a constant pace, focused and relaxed at the same time. Deconstruct reality, then set it how you'd like it to be. Break the chains and take free, it's the same crime since slave times. Do what you've been taught to do, never what you ought to do. Keep it all inside till the time's right. Hold your tongue, hold your breath, let easily to sudden death. Let it drift away as you pass the light. Let me help you find yourself inside your other mind. Step outside and leave behind worries of that other kind. Let me help you find yourself inside your other mind. Step outside and leave behind worries of that other kind. Find yourself inside. Healing me, reactivating what's been still in me, makes concentrating come so easily. It's a natural key, created so we can escape and be free. So let me help you find yourself inside your other mind. Step outside and leave behind worries of that other kind. So let me help you find yourself inside your other mind. Leave behind worries of that other kind. Find yourself inside.
Okay, we have to stop the party again. All right, so this song was first released as a single in 2018. This song calls the reader, but to break free. I think someone's mute is
maybe.
Maybe it was you? I don't know. Okay, so this song was released 2 years ago in 2018, and this song calls the listener not to escape, but to break free. Beyond the West African rhythms, the call and response style refrain for this song, "Can you feel it? Can you feel it?" is another way that this song anchors itself on the continent. But it also plays with language. Field and feel, right? The song is called Field Trip, but field, F-I-E-L-D, and feel, F-E-E-L, sound very similar. And the ganja fields can give way to greater feeling. Can you talk about the power of ganja in this song and in mental and spiritual awakening?
Let me start. And I'm really trying to keep it brief because I know, you know, we're on a time to so many levels, especially this song. But let me keep it very close to home here. Mind medicine. There are other mind medicines. Yeah. They all come from nature. We're not extracted and etc. Mind medicines such as peyote and ayahuasca and name them. Mushrooms of our ancestors used them. These are things that helped to bring us into sentience, yes? You know, high frequency radiation in this time noises, but like literal physiological things being put into our food and our water and etc. It is so crucial to find the plant medicines that will help to bring us very quickly into that state of alignment with the divine. It's a difficult process sometimes when you use these plant medicines because they move much more quickly than the process of meditation. So we've spoken about how the process of meditation is really the ideal way to bring you to these heights and to bring you to heaven and to bring you to that state of consciousness. But these other medicines, these plant earth medicines are the other way. So when now we experience these highs from the ganja, and not just the use of ganja and smoking and getting high, lifted up, like truly using them in the proper way, those proper time, get grown, and you know, this in that context. When you gain access from these things, they are a reminder of things that you are supposed to be able to do even without them. So the access that you can have need for you. We're in a pharmaceutical Prozac age, and I put to you, those things are toxic and poison. Find plant medicine, find the right dosage, find elders or spaces where you can learn about them and practice safely. But yes, I encourage that. Yes. So that is the whole idea of field trip. And it is a call and response because in a situation like this where I'm presenting something so potentially potent, I want to know that you understand, right? So I need everybody to just give me a little wave, a little hand up so I can know that you feel me. Can you feel me? Yeah, can you feel it? Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for that. We go to the next
Mama Isis.
tune. This is.
Did I answer the question?
Oh, yes, of course you did. Of course you did. The next track is going to be New Race Away. I think this is my favorite. But you know, they're all my favorites, but this is really my favorite. Okay. Sorry, wrong song.
Away, 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 over, away, away, out. Away, 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 over, away, away, out. Away, 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 over, away, away, out. Finding a way, away, away, over. I am a social scientist, gathering information, observing different cultures in the various different nations, turning incognito as a Rastafari artist, investigating evolution. Anyone willing to start marketing the mission as a spiritual experience? And the opportunity to do some major reconnaissance to find out how my people living on this black continent, so we can determine our and mount an effective defense away. Away, 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 over, away, away, out. Away, 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 over. way, away out. Away, away, away over. Away, away out. Finding a way, away, away over. Calling the healers, the engineers, teachers, and creators, impressing on them the urgency, even helping to process the paper. Safe of common ancestral influence, we're sure to find a few who not just ready to take instruction, but already know what to do. Those who've been reading and preparing, burning passionately from time, awaiting on this engagement of the spirit and the mind, and all the time is right upon the sisters, brothers, ready a station for the victory is imminent as we commence these activations. We find it. There is a willing eye that will not be silent. Born of the first race, now up to new race. We who have emerged out of their history of violence. Against us, I'm fully cognizant about the blessings and the finding away, 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 over, away, away, out.
Okay, we're back. We're back from that. Can you all see me? I hope I'm having reasonable internet right now. Nice. Okay, so the question is, Jah9, is it too soon to ask about the revolution? Okay. Now, how does New Race connect or disconnect from New Name, right? The title track of your first album. Can you talk perhaps about that?
I really like that question. I'm so glad you asked that question. Okay, so do you remember the last album? Not the first album, because the first album, identifies me as Rastafari, identifies me as a follower of His Imperial Majesty, identifies my primary leadership as His Imperial Majesty. So you ask me about my politics, you ask me about anything, it's His Imperial Majesty. You ask me about any politics or any liberation or any change. So in a speech that His Majesty made, his speeches are like everything to me, life-changing. If you have not read them, go and find them. They're thick, 2 thick volumes, right? The Testaments of His Imperial Majesty. Look at this book here. You can read it backward, but no one can read it. A New Race. There's another little book like this called The Wise Mind of His Imperial Majesty. This is volume 2, right? And if you, yes, Victoria, if you listen to the last album, right, at the end of the song Hardcore, I have a speech that is an excerpt from His Majesty's speech to the United Nations. And he implores us to become members of a new race, owing our allegiance not to nations, but to each other. Yeah? So if in fact we are now members of a new race, this means that we have transcended our flesh. We've transcended our complexions and our stations in life and all the things we have in this material world, and we are now connected in spirit. For the church people again, we are one in the spirit. We are one. Yeah, we are different people in the world, but we are one in the spirit. So with that said, New Race is my mission statement. Yeah? Now, for many years, let me enter, and this is something that maybe a lot of people don't know. I don't know, I guess I haven't really said it out loud a lot, unless you're like really close to me, but I got into this reggae industry. Like, Africa is a big part of why I wanted to even be in the reggae music industry, right? I had a very nice situation outside of it in my other life, and I knew that that was not the life for me. And I knew it wasn't a romanticized idea of, repatriation or running away or never coming back to Babylon, right? For me, repatriation started many, 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 many years ago. So I was living in Jamaica and traveling the world, but I have always, since that time, had Africa as this is where I'm going to need to be. So when I'm absorbing information that I'm getting over the years, when I'm meeting people, when I eventually got to travel to the continent for the first time, and then the second time, and then the third time, it was always reconnaissance. It was always, okay, so this is how people live here. Okay, that's what the immigration thing go. Okay, you know, it was always that, because that was always my mindset. I mean, it's not a matter that we're in the position to pack up all the things and sell all the things and come home, you know, dash away Babylon and come. It has to be a practical thing. So it is demystifying and de-romanticizing this idea of being home and making the space available where people can get actual practical information about what it will take to come home. So it's not just reggae music fans and Rastafari that will tell you to come home, right? I mean, unless you fall into the other categories of the healers. We need the engineers. Big up my Laffy, my brother, like you know how to work. And, you know, teachers, creators of medical professionals, yes, artisans of all kinds. Not only can you be of benefit to the continent, but you will benefit from the continent. Like this is where your little secret out there, if you're able to survive rather out there, you will thrive here. It will be multiplied. Like Africa is a freaking crystal. Yeah. And every time you come, your intentions and aspirations and potential are magnified. So New Race is kind of that. It is my mission statement. It is why I am in this music industry. To come home and to help make a way for mostly my immediate family, by extension the people that I love, and by further extension, all of the mindful and industrious of I and I. Come home. So to drop a song like that, and then it's like, Jah bless I know, and say, good girl. See it here? Tanzania.
I'm seeing if there's any questions in here. Thank you for this beautiful answer.
Wow, holy.
Wanted to pack things and come over.
You really, and it's not that hard. It really isn't as hard. And it doesn't start with throwing away everything and coming. Sometimes it's just that first trip, you know? Sometimes it's just that first step.
Yeah. All right, we go to track 7, Hey You.
Hey, I'm still here. Number hey, you, I'm still here. I remember you. Always, always. I remember you. Joseph didn't mean it, but what he caused between his brothers was a feeling, deep-seated insecurity. Whatever issues inherited were from family, for love and hate are one and the same. It's the mind of a man that changes. So I could be your brother and still become your enemy if you begin to feel me a threat to what you're building for yourself. Economics have you thinking that there is scarcity, so the power that you tasted, you didn't want to waste it on me. Hey, I'm still here. Number hey, you.
All right. Hey you. The interrogative you is used here when you say, hey you, still here. The second person you is who you seem to be serenading in this bluesy soul song that made me think about Jill Scott's Do You Remember? I have to confess. But tell me, who is the you that you speak to and of? Is it the biblical Joseph that you're singing to in this song? Is it the biblical Joseph?
All right. Multiple levels again, as usual, right? So the story of Joseph is the analogy, yeah? And we have to remember, each of these songs are notes to myself. So this is one of those songs as probably the song on the album that the most would make people think, I wonder who she's talking about. But really and truly, yeah, few people may talk about it, but primarily the fingers are pointing back at me here, right? So it's hey you, it's like you sing this song in front of a mirror. Hey you, I'm still here. Remember us? Remember those contracts we made when you were young and aspiring? Remember what you said you wanted to do when you were going into the industry? Remember when you were a little girl and you wanted to be this? Remember? I'm still here. I remember you. You see me? And that's really where the hey you vibe. And I think the story of Joseph is powerful because I remember as a child reading that story and thinking, wow, Joseph wasn't really trying to show off. Like Joseph didn't give me a vibe like he was a show off. He's more so excited at what was happening to him and he wanted to share, hoping that others would reciprocate and feel as excited and maybe even be able to help him interpret. And his father now being enlivened by, look at my son, we're just, isn't he? Feeling that specialness toward his last born. I mean, sometimes you just celebrating yourself can be offensive to others. Does that mean you don't celebrate yourself? You know? And when you eventually celebrate yourself and others see it and others for it and cause you to fall into adversity, is that a cause for you to, you know, look at life as, oh, this is a tragedy? Because look at what happened after his brother sold him into slavery. He turned out to be the very same one who ended up saving his whole family and the nation from starvation. So it turned out that that was exactly the trajectory that he needed to be on, which is another important lesson for, you know, being mindful that adversity is your teacher and sometimes it's something you need. You see me?
I like that. I guess I want to push back on that point about adversity is something that you need. And when we think about the levels of trauma that Black people have experienced for centuries, do we need more?
I knew that would be sensitive. And it is something sensitive. And I have to be mindful of that sometimes when I'm having discussions that, what do you mean? So you mean the rape and the torture and the da-da-da was something I needed? I didn't. But again, you know, all of our experiences are different, but what have we, how have we grown from them? And you have to also remember, I mean, again, my personal views here, right? I believe in things like karma and reincarnation and all of these things are things that in my experience and my learning, I have come to put into my reality. And so if I'm looking at it as my present life is how I'm working out my cosmic karma. In which case, I may not know some of the reasons why I'm facing these extreme hardships, but hardship, right? Even calling it that makes you feel like it's a bad thing. But that whole dichotomy, that polarity consciousness of this is bad and this is good, like we have to, in becoming a new race, we have to evolve even out of those things because those things are prejudices again. Why are you prejudiced against the bad things? Bad things are important. How are you going to understand and be appreciative of good things if all you have, you know, or of good things if all you have are good things? So you have to have that balance. Challenges, adversities, all of these things are our teachers, and perspective is what makes the difference between tragedy and opportunity. You see me? So when we start shifting how we perceive certain things, maybe we won't spend so long in our states of trauma. And maybe we won't become so paralyzed by fear that we pull these lessons toward us. That's a little rough. It might come across as rough to some people who have been through certain traumas. But when you start to adjust your mind, and I know this because I have met people who have been through extreme trauma and have come out so gracious, right? That I feel empowered that yes, even though I haven't gone through certain things, I know this is true because I've seen people go through some terrible things and they come out better for it, better than they would have been had they not. So it's just, again, perspective.
Okay. No, I appreciate that. I appreciate this.
You know? But at the end of the day, hey you, is you're looking in, it is sitting in front of the mirror. You feel me?
Mm-hmm. So listen, I have a question in here on the chat that is from Inez Rivera. Hi, Inez. And so the question is that you've been talking about Africa as home, being home, but hearing some of your responses, you seem to also underscore Jamaica or the Caribbean, Africa, and home is within yourself as well. So why is it important to view home as multiple rather than singular? Finally, she asks, how does this concept of home manifest in your work?
That's a good question. As above, so below though. So for me, what Africa represents is more than just a physical space. Yeah, I feel like Africa is an advantage. And to be here, like there's some things that I would want to say that you really would have had to have visited the continent to understand. And particularly for people of the diaspora, and especially people who are who believe themselves as part of a minority, who live in places like America, KKK, right? And Europe and all of these white continents and feel like, you know, this is the real way the world is. Africa is a liberation for your mind. So even if, so being at home, you cannot be at home in a place where you feel dejected and oppressed. It is much more difficult for you. Let's not say you cannot, right? But for those who need to kind of have that experience of at-homeness, Africa is the space where you can do this, where you can stand in the midst of hundreds of people who look just like you and see them who have that oppression that has been put on us. And that the weight that you're forced to carry around all my ancestors and slavery, and to kind of release that and realize that, I mean, slavery is a very, very small portion of your history. And some of those lessons, they are best learned in context. Yeah? So you're not going to really overzoom and say, as them, you know, exactly, my life. You're not going to overzoom and say until you reach, like you have to come. You have to come home. So coming home is the above, so below of that whole statement. Like to understand that, you have to have that experience. And then you can decide if you want to live here or not. But I would put to you, come home and feel it.
All right, we're looking forward to the concert that you.
And it's expensive either, because enough time people spend their money on foolishness.
Yes.
Anyway, sorry.
Okay, so the next track, we move to the next track, track 8, Kylie.
Yes.
You are not a king, you are just a pawn, scattering the seeds from which the masses will be born. The emphasis you place on the space you put your shows just the kind of weakness that would cause a race to fail. Where did you get it in your head that the value you possess was determined by efficiency of taking off my dress? Huh? Who taught you what it means to be a man? No, blame the absence of a father, blame the absence of a plan, blame the system that would have you drugged and sexing over sport, blame the rich when you steal them, when they catch you, blame the court, blame the girls that told you yes, blame the girl that told you no, blame the girl that was your mother, blame it on the way you grow. So many things you have the opportunity to use as your excuse when you lose. But what if all you had to do to win was to learn from the example of the king? But he don't love highly, always on the low, heart over full, but he don't want it to show. He don't love highly, ever feeling low, draining the energy whenever he's around. He don't love highly, just like a slim, not taking enough time to give prizes unto him who is the light of the law, the truth and the way. So I can't let him get to me.
Okay. We're all still here enjoying the sounds. So Kylie, wow, the fire is very real. Love to Ayatosh and Runkas. Okay, so I first heard these lyrics as poetry from your mouth, all right? In fact, you shared this poem at UE for the Literatures in English poetry class. And I don't know if you intended to share that poem that day when you did it, but you shared it. And it was interesting to note that it came after,
always intentional.
It came about after at least 20 poems were shared by at least 20 different students. And the majority of the poems that those students shared that day from their own minds was about abuse, right? There was a lot of gendered violence that was being discussed in the poems that the students shared: physical, sexual, emotional abuse. So enter Jah9, who shares this song as a poem. So the words that you said that day were rallying, to say the least. Would you, for one, recite the song as a poem now? And two, number three, is can you talk about that conflict, right? This idea, the highly, right? The H-I-G-H-L-Y and H-A-I-P, and how it makes this song pregnant with Rasta meaning, while at the same time broadly applicable to the condition of Black community worldwide.
Okay. Hi, baby dirty. Okay. Okay, so highly. Let me start with the last part of that question first, right? When I was learning about His Majesty, what really struck me the most, especially because this is who the whole Rastafari tradition is built around, right? His Imperial Majesty, at the age of maybe 19, if not 20, he took one woman, yeah? She came from a previous marriage, but he took her and he built his family with her. He had all his children with her. He had several years of uninterrupted marriage with her. When he speaks of her with such grace and calmness and reverence when he speaks of his queen, to the point where when he was being coronated, he broke tradition by causing them to have to wait for like a week so that him and her could be crowned at the same time. Yeah, this kind of man now is like, this to me is H-I-G-H-L-Y, right? Like, that is the kind of love I expect from the kind of man that I would want, right? This is the kind of love I experienced by, you know, vicariously through my parents' years of, you know, 45 years of marriage, seeing 45 uninterrupted years of marriage. And I remember being in high school and talking about the relationship that I had with my father and the relationship that my parents had, very matter-of-factly, because I didn't have a lot of other experiences, like the fact that most people don't have fathers that they can talk about. It got to a point where I stopped talking about my father, especially because I realized it started to kind of become a trigger for some of the other girls at my all-girls school who didn't have a similar relationship. So it got to the point where I was like, okay, let's not talk about my situation because clearly it's offensive almost, you know? And so I wanted to celebrate. So as much as this song spends a lot of time talking about the wrong kind of man, quote unquote wrong, you know, or the adversity man, it is really a celebration of those type of virgins who are the opposite of that, right? But why it was significant for me to do this point at the university, like I follow my intuition all the time. So I didn't know how relevant that song, that poem was going to be until after I heard all those 20 other poems, and I realized, okay, that is why Jah9's decided to do this poem, just like this album, yeah? So it's like, I say that poem, and it is a call for you to take personal responsibility for even your love relationships. So we blame these men for treating us a particular way, right? But at the same time, you are the one who's responsible. I mean, I don't know, back in the caveman days when you could be dragged into, I mean, listen, we're not talking about situations where you are sold to a man. We're talking about right now in this Western situation where women choose negative relationships for superficial reasons and then struggle through them and then cause this toxicity to be in their life. And then they say, oh, this is a toxic man. And when really and truly your presence in that man's life might very well be the thing that is triggering him to be that way to life. We have to explore all aspects of the conversations because we're not having the conversations out loud. So this is my attempt to have that conversation now with a man who, in my mind, so I have an experience of a man who I thought was beautiful. And I thought, we're so well aspected. I mean, I could just imagine the type of relationship we could have because of how he was and, you know, personal, and I'm here maxing it out in my mind. And so I'm like, okay, let me give him an opportunity to spend some time in my life. And I started to pick up some signs very early. Why? Because I have the experience of an awesome man in my life. So when I realized that, okay, this isn't going to work, I had the choice. Do I test it and see, and maybe I can help and change him? And I opted, you know what? Let me not take this course of action, right? And that also came from experience as well, because I didn't really have a lot of experience with the negative aspects of man. I had to learn the hard way for a lot of that growing up, because in my mind, man is amazing. I love man. Man stay like my father. And you know, you must love man and take care of them, and if you treat them good, they're bound to them. Yeah, I learned the hard way that there are just some people who, this is how they are, this is how they're aspected astrologically. You cannot change them. Right? It's them have to decide to change, and sometimes it is in their karma. So it's you have to decide, am I going to stay here and be in the way of this fire that is coming, or am I going to take away myself? You know what I mean? So that homophone is pertinent because His Majesty, for me, is one of the highest examples I have ever witnessed of man and his relationship with woman.
Thank you for that one. Okay, so there was a lot in there, right? The toxic relationship is critical. Everyone, I guess we just have to be mindful of the mute, because I think there was some feedback and maybe there were some parts that were missed. So we'll just try to be more careful in the future. Sorry, everyone. We go to the next song. Hopefully you can hear me now. And I guess Jah9 checked the chat, but it's a lot of support for your comments here about the toxic relationships and the toxic choices that everyone, that women tend to make.
True. Yes. And I mean, Isis, I just want to say, right? The idea behind Note to Self as well is that this is to, like, this conversation that we're having now, all of us together, is the beginning of a conversation. Yeah, we started the conversation with "I'm going to be okay," which is a universal kind of mantra. But we are going to get into those conversations. We are going to talk about this male-female dynamic and where the breakdown happened and how we can heal. I cannot sing these songs and not address this out loud. So we are going to have further chats about this, and we are going to have to face some of these things. Like, had we not, you know, this pandemic issue, I would be out there in the streets, sitting down in the round tables with I, and we'd have to talk and face these things in front of each other. And this is work that I do, right? This is wellness, this is mental health. Like, there's no way we're going to heal as a community and as the Black community and repatriate until we learn how to deal with each other. And the root of that is still self-love.
Bam! A nice late bam from me because of the delay, but absolutely. Let's keep all of this going. We'll go to track 9, Feel Good, Pinch. If you are at home and you have a yoga mat nearby, there's no reason why you shouldn't have been stretching the entire time that we've been in this session, right? Stretch the mind and stretch the body one time. Here we go.
Things that make your body feel good. Oh, them the things I like them. Things that make your body feel good. Oh, them the things I like them. Things that make your body feel good. Oh, things that make your body feel good. One of the things that make your body feel good. Oh, them the things I like them. Love it when the muscles start burn. Love it when the body start learn how to bend. Like to feel the pelvis oscillating, kundalini activate, and I'm transported to a higher state. Into the sea or into the dance around the yoga mat. Into the office or into the vehicle where I'm at. Just monitor the hydration and surrender to the high vibration of the things that make your body feel good. Oh, everything you like them. Things that make your body feel good. Oh, them the things we like to. Things that make your body feel good. Oh, things that make your body feel good. The things that make your body
Okay.
feel good. Oh.
So here we go again. So this is the 9th track, Jah9. So should we assume that this is your favorite song on the album?
Why would we assume that?
Okay, forget that one. This song is full of body, this song is full of body recommendations. And whenever I listen to this, I think of my mother's voice and her advice, which is I drink water, make sure you drink tons of water, I make sure you're getting good rest, make sure you eat well, make sure you're exercising, and make sure you're laughing often. So thank you for this recommendation, this list of recommendations. But can you talk about, I guess, what role does yoga play in your musical creation? Not just your life, but how you...
Okay. I don't know how you'd separate those two things though, because my musical creation is like the result of my life, right? And we have to remember that yoga is not just what you do on the mat, right? There are limbs to this process of yoga. And the first limb of yoga is self-study. So you have to learn about yourself. You have to understand, this is how my body reacts to this. This is how my skin reacts to this. This is how my state of mind reacts. Like, study yourself, journaling, writing things down. Like, there is no more important study that you can do than yourself. Yeah? When I was a little girl before social media days, I used to write everything down. I mean, I still write a lot down, but like journaling every day at the end of the night, just kind of assessing. This is how I felt about the day. This is how I dealt with my emotions, you know? People don't do that much anymore because the moment they have something in their mind, instead of assessing it on paper or assessing it themselves, they tweet it or they put it on Instagram or they take a selfie to, you know, make themselves feel pretty when they're not feeling so pretty. So we're not dealing with the things. So we end up looking good, but not feeling good. So the idea with a song like Feel Good is only the things that make our body feel good we want to do. And in the same vein, as we're going through and showing how the songs connect, after a song like Highly, you are left with the question of, then how am I supposed to feel when I'm left, you know, in that state? You're supposed to feel good. This is how you're supposed to feel. That is how you're not supposed to feel, right? So that's where feel good comes from. And the idea of yoga, like yoga for me, I started my yoga journey at the same time I started my journey in this music industry. Again, very intentionally, because everything is intentional. And I knew that this was healing work, right? Because again, the mission has been very consistent from the beginning to now, right? I am on a very different trajectory from my brothers and sisters in this industry. Not greater or lesser, just different, right? And so for me, I feel very successful now to be in a space where I can share with people the intention behind the work. And the intention behind the work is to remind you that a thing must make you feel good, not just in the moment, but feel so good that you are transported where? To heaven, isn't it?
Okay. So there's some questions here about from people who are feeling that they are not very flexible, but they want to start learning yoga.
Flexibility is in the mind, not in the body. Flexibility starts in the mind, right? And the process of yoga is for those who consider themselves inflexible. Because the likelihood is if you are inflexible in your body, you probably are inflexible in your life as well. So it is another reason for you to kind of go into some self-study as well. And it's an opportunity to open the body, especially a gentle form of yoga, which is what I would recommend to people who are kind of afraid of a yin approach to yoga, where you find yourself in a posture. The posture does not have to look like what your teacher is doing or what anyone else is doing. It is the function of the posture that is important. So if you are doing a forward fold, and I might be able to lift up out of my waist and fold myself in half, and you can only just curl your neck down because your muscles are so tight because you sit at a desk every day. Trust and believe that that little bit that you're doing, if you stay there and breathe into the spaces where you feel that tightness, over time, you will open, it will bend, and you have to bend or you're going to break. Yeah. So that practice is especially for those who think that they can't do it.
Okay, bench break. I think that is critical. All right, we switch now to track number 10. There we go.
Big up, Megan.
Give thanks for the Emperor Haile Selassie the first, and Empress perfect balance. I take a risk, I let him in. I am afraid, I admit to him. This type of surrender was another agenda, but I find that this brother is inspiring. Him don't have no money, it's still kinda young. I know for another fight about that class and him come. This type of surrender was another agenda, but I find that this brother is a reflection of his found finally. For a heart and bring the healing. He learned from the example of the king. Love has found finally. Taking it slow, but not letting go. I'm not one to trust. I'm a of lust. I don't fish for compliments, I'm real serious. But love from the lion brings access to Zion, and the queen in reliance fulfills her purpose. I journey as Omega is to keep Alpha strong. I complement his nature and define his function. So love from the lion brings access to Zion. Masculine and feminine united as one. Love has found finally. Our hearts can bring the healing. He learned from the example of the king. Love has found finally.
So, track 10, Love Has Found I. Now, a shallow listen could leave one thinking that this reggae poetry is a gendered step back, right? With lines like, love from the lion brings access to Zion, which would suggest that there is no access that the woman can gain to Zion unless she has the love of the lion or the male. Or a line like, I journey as Omega is to keep Alpha strong, again suggesting perhaps that Omega's purpose is to do that. I complement his nature and define his function. So can you talk about feminine and masculine balance and how this song teases out messages of balance that you discuss in Ma'at, as well as messages about the dangerous love of Haile, right? Because clearly this is not functioning on a shallow level.
I feel like you're answering the question. I feel like you answered the question with a question, you know.
Listen, you already answered the question.
Yeah, I actually think you've answered that question for yourself.
You answered the question, I think, in your
balance
of the other tracks, right? So tracks 1 through 9 show this evolution, right? So I guess can you talk to us?
Which is why this is all the way down here, right? Exactly.
So can you talk about how
there is a beautiful thing. All right, since we're all educated people here, right? I'm going to address this. I'm going to address this just because this is an intelligent people place. This is not like a Booyah place, right? So let me just say this once and for all. Watch out, that's a woman leaning now. So let me just say this very clearly. First of all, is there anyone that does not understand that song? I want you to put up your hand if you have a problem with anything that I say that song. I'm scrolling through to see if I say anything. So I can just delete the problem. I'm kidding.
It's also a judgment-free zone.
Okay, good. I have sought through. This is a judgment-free zone, so don't judge me, right? Okay, so there's a lot. I mean, in this time, for me to say that love from the lion, and for me to celebrate that beautiful love between a man and a woman, if I am going to be persecuted for saying how beautiful it is that a man can love a woman, which is the only love that I personally have ever experienced. It is the love that I grew up seeing around me. I come from a country named Jamaica, and I am in my late 30s. My birthday is on Saturday. So this is my experience of life, and I can only sing about my experience. Remember the disclaimer that we dropped at the beginning of this thing, right? So for me, I understand, and even as a scientist, right, even in doing A-level biology and all of these things, there is lightning that is created at the moment of conception. There are powerful things that can happen in the womb of woman, things that I have longed to experience, things that I'm still looking forward to experience, that only a man can give me. Only a man can give me full use of my womb space. So for me, like when I think about love finding me, I'm not talking about just flesh love and feeling good and who can make me come and all of these things. I'm talking about a completion that I am looking forward to, because it is what I have been promised as a woman with a womb. No, there are others who are looking for different things in love. You are free to look for and do anything you want with your life and your body. Yeah? I do not believe that I'm not pushing this, I'm not pushing an agenda. Yeah, I am being totally normal and natural in the experience that I am having of life. I hope that answers the question.
It does. It was a beautiful answer, right?
Great.
So certainly, you see how the album moves forward. So I just wanted to say that as you listen very casually, one might say that, okay, did she just say that all a woman can do? And that's absolutely not what she said about this person's power.
Somebody asked that question, or you're assuming that that could be a question that was asked in somebody's mind?
I think that if someone heard the snippet of lyrics in passing, they'd say, wait, what? Is that what we're saying? Did she just say that the function of a woman is to complement a man, and that's it? And if they turn it off, they might walk away.
Well, let me quote. The song did not say the function of a woman. The song says, I journey, I, who am making these notes to myself, I journey as Omega, Omega being potentially the highest manifestation of the feminine, is to keep Alpha strong, because guess what? You see, in this manifestation of life, this dispensation of life, Alpha is weak for the most part. Alpha barely are born these days, like man, they're not born again because of how, I mean, them set up the food and the water and all of these things. Like, men are at risk, men are being marginalized. I have to support and celebrate them, especially my black brothers. Like, give them a chance, give them a space, give them some love. Sometimes this thing we hate about mankind and body, so it's like a patience they need. And sometimes we're in such a hurry to copulate with these brothers. We don't have the time to sit and get to know them. And sometimes the best thing you can do with your brother is lock your foot. Yeah? So you can get to listen to him. Because what is the conversation if it's not about sex? Can we have a conversation? Yeah, can I sit with you and be with you when we don't end up in bed or we don't end up easily? Acting like we're animals and we can't control ourselves. Don't make tricky about how relationship. Confuse your mind, because in one sense they're going to tell you about this, you know, hypersexuality, and in another sense they're going to condemn you if you don't do relationships in the way that they want you to, and have marital contracts and one man and one woman. Like, if you look outside of yourself for answers, you will fail at this life. You have to look within yourself. And it is my journey within that has caused me to kind of polarize to my brothers, yeah, most naturally. And even when they have hurt me, because I have some terrible people in my life, and I find that I still love them, like it's something that I can't help. I love them, and I will call them even though they don't deserve to even hear my voice, some of them, because they're disgusting. And they have not reached that part in their journey yet where they can understand the damage that they do with some of their actions. But at the same time, because I have had a beautiful life, I really feel like I've had a beautiful life. So I can bear a little more than somebody who probably has gone through much more trauma than me, right? And in those cases, she's supposed to don't deal with them, run with them, man. I will come and I will step into the fire with him, because I don't want to sleep with him. I want to help him heal. Yeah, and he's reaching toward me and he thinks he wants to sleep with me, but really he wants to heal, and that is what he sees and that is what he's trying to do, and he doesn't understand how to communicate it. I have to make a space for that. And I don't want a broken man. I'm old now, I can't want to fix no man, but I will be your friend, you know. So it's kind of that to say. And again, the views expressed are mine.
Yours. No, absolutely, right? So this song and everything that you said, we're talking about entirely, and we can put it together. So of course, practice building, and that's what this decoding experience is about, right? So where you might have been in doubt before, clarity is upon you. So here we go. We're going to go to track 11 because we're in the love space. I don't know if anyone has noticed that we have entered into a different kind of love space. We've been in a love space all along. But track 11 is You and I featuring Pressure Bus Pipe.
Pressure Bus Pipe and Jah9. I feel up the Empress every time. Say what? I share something real, not just what we do, but how we feel, and it's mutual, so it's beautiful, beyond the physical, this destiny. You and I share something true, not just what we're saying, but what we do, and it's mutual, so it's beautiful, beyond the physical, this destiny. As I'm sitting waiting here, your silhouette will soon appear. I always appreciate the heights we attain together as we meditate. As I behold you with my eyes, I know with you my future lies. Show what the Creator sent. I ask for a friend and got a compliment. You and I share something real, not just what we do, but how we feel, and it's mutual, so it's beautiful, beyond the physical, this destiny. You and I share something true, not just what we're saying, but what we do, and it's mutual, so it's beautiful, beyond the physical, this destiny. Nothing could be
all right. Sorry to cut my man there, Pressure Bus Pipe. But we think about this song and we think about, I don't know, the fact that it's curiously and intentionally put right after Love Has Found I, right? It's clear that this song is not a note to self in that way, but this is a love song celebrating an equal love, right? It is also becoming clear that the album has taken this shift. The first 6 tracks seem to be directed at the race, right? So this is a love for the race. The songs to inspire individuals to serve the race meaningfully were presented.
The collective, the new race, the collective.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Now the message on the 7th track marks the turn. Then the 8th track welcomes what seems to be a romantic focus from the balanced love of Queen Omega and King Alpha that you outlined to the next track. And I guess we'll just move right into the next track, which is the innuendo-filled love song about music. But the question I have is, what exactly does love mean to you?
Okay. There are 3 songs on this record, that trilogy, right? It starts with Highly. But you cannot do a song like Highly and leave the people stranded. So from Highly now comes Love Has Found I. And then after Love Has Found I, comes Pressure Bus Pipe and Jah9. Why? Because this is how it feels. So it's different stages. It is first introspection and assessment. Is it worth it? So it's like a flow chart where you have yes, no. If you answer yes, then go down to the next one. If you answer no, then go back up to understand yourself, right? No, if you go down, the next one is clearly Love Has Found I. And then the next one is during the mature phase of the relationship now, when it's like, okay, now I'm learning about you and we have our own little rituals, you know what I mean? So it's kind of that. It's like the thing grow. Because we're in this stage of life, we're in this world now where people have these little on-spot relationships, and then if it don't work, I'm going to ghost you or whatever, and you know what I mean? It's always a new relationship. It's always a new feeling. Nobody wants to be in a long-term commitment and do the work. But for me, because again, that's my experience, I've seen the beauty of it. It's like you enter a game, and every time you want to start over the game, every time you start over the game, you have to start at level 1. So if you're level 1 relationships you have, nobody's going to get to level 5. You don't have no idea what is behind the door of level 5 and level 6. I want to see it. So this is why, you know, the journey is as it is. So for me, love is that. Love is something that is unconditional. Meaning, even if we fail at this romantic part, I don't want to have to lose love for you. Yeah? Even when you fail me, I want to make sure that the love I have for you is unconditional. Even if it has to, you know, kind of change into something else. Where I understand I can't let you get to me. I have to love you from over there. And I'm not going to talk often. Or, yeah man, this feels good. And you want in my house. Yeah, you want to cook for you and wash your clothes.
And so then we might move to the next song, right? So track 12, which is Ready to Play. And this is a song about creation, right? To say the least, about creating.
Aha!
Sing it, sing it. Mine is willing. Ready when you're Tell me when you're ready to play. Say one word and I will be there with the tools of my trade. Communion from evening to day, each day. This music is my saving grace. If not for the music, I don't know how I would have made it. That's the truth. With pressure from the slave mill and the system and the liquor black youth. Even before I heard the calling words and rhythm haunted my dreams, jump out of sleep, grab pen and paper. Expression has been my savior. From early we learn about music. You connect to the soul, and from the elders we learn about the music. How it helps you regain control. Those singers and players and instruments sent to set soul captives free. Inspired by the Almighty, brought the purest healing to me. So tell me when you're ready to play. Say one word and I will be there with the tools of my trade.
All right. I think one of the most beautiful parts about this experience we are having on Zoom right now is seeing all the singers in the studio.
This music is my...
So keep it up. Okay, so really the question here is, what does creation mean to you? You know, what has music saved you from?
Okay, so this song, if you are a musician or a creator of any kind, but particularly like if you're like a writer or any kind, really, you know those moments when you are brought out of your sleep full to the brim and you have to draw up a pen and paper. Like there are moments when you just have to let it out. It's not even about being an artist or, you know, industry or whatever. It's like I have to express. It's like when you need to go to the toilet, like you have to go. Like it's that kind of urgency sometimes with the process of creation. Like you have to let it out. So if it's not for the mute, like, and for me, it was, I mean, I remember being in high school and I never got any demerits or detentions or anything like that. And I remember one time this daughter, she drew me right out and it was the closest I've ever come to being in a physical fight. And it never turned into a fight because it's like, I don't even remember what happened. Like somebody touched me and said, Jenny, remember graduation, your mother. And it's like I just and walked away from her. And I remember feeling like I didn't get to express something. And then when I was sitting in the principal's office, by the time I got to the office, she was sitting with me because we got in trouble and she's like, you know, and she's trying to be my friend again because she knew she was wrong. And I'm like, and then when I got to my mother's office now, and my mother heard about what happened and she's talking to me about what happened, I'm like, and I just couldn't speak. And then I just got my paper and I just wrote pages. I just couldn't get it out any other way. I had to put it on paper. Yeah. And it's kind of that for me. Like there are moments when the safest thing I could do, the most compassionate thing I could do for myself and others was to find a way to express. If I could draw. I mean, there are times when I used to draw when I was younger, but just getting it out. Sometimes that is what you have to do with heightened emotion. So I wrote this song for the musicians that I have encountered in my life in particular. Like, this is how creation is for me. Like, I create a lot on my own. Yeah, most of my creative process is by myself. But when I started to enter this music industry is when I started to meet other young creatives, and I found that, you know, creating together has a very, very special, you know, power to do something very quickly. It's kind of like the difference between meditating on your own and using plant-assisted meditation. Like, people provide that, and that is a powerful, powerful medicine too. So sharing that process, not just creating, but using that as a part of the healing process for the collective, collaboration and community. Exactly, Carrie. powerful, powerful tools. Yeah, saving grace because it saves me from, you know what I mean? We say I had to, because I wrote that song, I was going to sing it by myself, and then I remember that Tarsha is my favorite voice, like one of my favorite voices of all time, and I could just imagine his voice bellowing out my chorus. And when I linked him, he was like, yes, and I'm like, oh my God, yes. And he came into the studio, and even that process, like he allowed me to direct him, you know, for the vocal production and tell him how I wanted it. And he's so much a brilliant and talented artist. He gave me exactly what I wanted. So it is perfect for the studio. So it's like, I really, really appreciate collaboration. And this album in particular is my most collaborative project. I have the most features. I work with the most producers. Like, I don't let people in usually, but I really wanted to do that. Like, this is a learning process for me too. You know what I mean? It is so it really is one of those things, the power of collaboration in the creative process. So creation for me is either collaborating directly with the divine or collaborating with others to access it.
Okay. I'm watching the time and I'm feeling like we have to hurry or something. All right, the next tune is The Reflection.
Yeah.
I'm grateful to have music. Since I was a youth to now, the skill is seasoned into like deep stretch. And it is an honor to be able to serve with it, especially since it's been serving I so well. I give thanks for everyone who was given and taken from me on this track. My teachers, my students, too. Listening, doing your own rough work, more strength in your own journey. Perfect love.
I don't think there's anything that we should say. I think we're all supposed to take a moment and just deep those words, right? So track 14, Could It Be? You have a video. The video is coming out tomorrow.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
Could It Be is the highest work. Highest meaning most honest, most naked of all of the songs I've probably ever written. Yeah. Self-reflective.
Okay, so I'm just gonna say a couple of things and then hit play on it, and then we're gonna be almost done here. So the soul of a poet, the mind of a poet, that's you. The body of a goddess, the goddess, and the heart of a king. She blessed and she know it, serene when she show it, Jah fire blazing in the voice when she sing, are the lines of your reggae poetry on this rich jazz soul song. On this track, you take a mirrored return to the self. Quote, I see her in my reflection, I recognize her face, but when I focus, I notice she is in another place, end quote. But what motivates the doubt? Okay, is this doubt from within or is it externally provoked? I ask because you open this poem, Could It Be, with tell me what you see when you look at me. Tell me, do you know how high, how low can you see the road? So having come so far, Jah9, having come so far from being ready for the feeling on track 1 to rallying the new race somewhere in the middle to being found by love, this song confesses that the outside voices sometimes threaten your confidence. So I'm curious about the factors that can make us unrecognizable to ourselves, and really what can make an individual ask herself, could it be me? Right? Make you think that. So maybe you just maybe we don't play that song. Maybe we make everyone so anxious for 11 o'clock tonight.
Yeah, so you can watch the video tomorrow. You won't hear it tonight.
But yes, you tell me what can make you feel, I don't know, unrecognizable to yourself.
I like how you framed that. And to put this song at the end is kind of a reminder that this is where you show your vulnerability. Like sometimes right out the gate, like you have to present with confidence. Sometimes you have to be more confident than you feel. Yeah, Marcus Garvey said, with confidence you've won before you even begin. So we'll begin with confidence. because that is how we feel most of the time. And we understand, like, our relationship with doubt is not one of, hey, doubt, come chill. It's a matter that it happens, it hits you, and it's always from outside. Yeah, even when you think it's for you, it's never from inside, because you are God inside. Yeah. So when doubt comes in, doubt bars the way. That is a chapter of the master key, right? Doubt bars the way. So we now have to face it. But it's one of those things where, am I going to internalize it, absorb it, or am I going to let it wash over me, right? That is now where the flexibility comes in. I can't let it hit me and stay. That is when I have to let my vibrations just pass through, right? So a song like Could It Be is looking at myself through the outside, and which is, with new name, it was declaring who I am in my religious space, in my spiritual space, in my political space. With 9, it was declaring this is me as an individual, unafraid of what anybody has to say. This is how I want to present myself. This is how I want to present my music. This is me. And this song, this album is more about, okay, now that you understand who I am, and we've spent some time together over the past decade, I've heard you, and this is my response to you in a most human kind of way. So this is my most human song on my most human album, right? 9 is my superhuman album. So of course, it's going to culminate with my vulnerability to say, yes, you know me as this, you know? But I am also this. I am also a little girl. Yeah? God manifested in the flesh, but still a little girl, to those who remember that song.
Thank you. Okay, I'll play the last track 15. And as we're listening to that one, think about the question of why the whole album is titled Know Yourself, right? I think that's a question that people have.
It is written that faith is the substance of things unseen. This only holds true if one can grasp and appreciate the limitless nature of intelligent design and work within the unseen. To cast the seeds of my imagination and know with certainty that fruit is on the way. There is a way. It takes knowing to trust the unknown. So faith is not belief. It is knowing. Removing doubt as I make note of every personal victory, one at a time. Reawakening and restoring the Most High within myself as I study her, me, I. And knowing thyself is mastery. One who is ready to do the work.
Okay, so you said removing doubt as I make note of every personal victory. Sorry. I study her, me, I. You close the album with an outro titled In the Beginning and a statement that you are ready. This hour-long note to self ends at a beginning, and if one considers the energy that was transferred into this project through these cathartic song notes, these reflections on the mind, the body, the heart, the spirit, and the new race, there is nowhere else that you could arrive but at the beginning. The catharsis is complete. So the question we have in these last 2 minutes is, where is Jah9 now? What begins for you now?
This forward, and you have to remember, inspiration is not, oh, I'm so brilliant and I knew exactly what was going to happen in the world and that's why I dropped this album. It is me being so open that I am receptive to the inspiration of the Most High. So that when I hear a call to do a thing a particular way, to write a particular song, I won't listen to the label, I won't listen to the naysayers, I just follow my own mind. Those who know me will know I am very stubborn. It looks like stubbornness, but really it is your intuition that you have to trust. And for me, it is the beginning of a very important work. Just kind of doing that very work I'm asking others to do. I am, making space for myself. I'm beginning a new journey of self-study. And this whole album has really done that for me too, even listening to it through. Like, could it be as a song when I was recording that song, like when I was recording those ad-lib vocals at the end, like I was in tears, So when I hear people tell me how that song affected them, I know, I feel it, I understand, because this is spirit music. So when you are there and you are screaming out, I'm using my vocals in ways that I've never published before. And, for those who have seen the live performances, for me, this album comes the closest to what you might experience at a live performance from me. And so for me, it is more of that journey. I'm learning new ways to study myself. I'm going deeper into astrology. I'm going deeper into self-study, right? Astrology is self-study. And that might be frightening for some people. Like, there's certain occult knowledge that it's available. We're in the age of knowing. You have to do this work. You have to get to know yourself. Otherwise, you're just bouncing around, being affected by the tide and not even understanding why you were aspected that way. Why do these things affect me that way? We have to do that work. So where I am right now, I'm doing this work. I'm doing this work. Yeah? Where I'm in the physical, I'm in East Africa. I've been marooned here. I mean, I want to say intentionally just because of the relationship I have with my intuition and with the divine. But at the same time, I understand the work that I'm doing because I've been paying attention. And there are many of us who are watching right now who also understand their work and who are continuing to unfold. So it's really there. And what's next? I mean, there are a lot of things that are next, but the thing that I want to mention that is next, that is most important, is I want to do, I don't want to call it an online challenge because it's not really a competition. It's more of a challenge to self, right? We're going to use the tools of journaling. We're going to use the tools of deep stretch and deep breath, and we're going to do some collective work together. So that's coming up in a few weeks, and it's kind of like an opportunity to truly feel good, yeah? So stay tuned for that. It is going to call for you to be very, very vulnerable and honest with yourself. You can share it in the forum or you can keep it to yourself, but the work is for you to do, for those who are interested, yeah? Just bringing forward that information and helping people to prepare. But when the doors are open and we can see each other again in the physical, you'll be ready to have the conversations that I want to hold space for. Yeah, conversations about yourself, for yourself, with yourself and each other.
Yes. Thank you so much, Jah9. I think this was a beautiful gathering of thoughts and curiosities regarding.
I think so too.
So if there are any lingering questions that you don't feel have been addressed, that you want to ask, particularly Reggae poetry students, put them in the chat or come off from mute. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. Let's see how it goes. Like 2 more minutes just to see if there was anything that we wanted to answer. And I'm not seeing anything, Glenn. You see anything?
Yeah, is there anyone who really has a burning issue that you want to, not to just share and express because you want to be seen, but like, is there something you feel you can add to this collective conversation? Because really and truly, what I want to hear from us is how we plan to do this work and what this work means for us, because there is no more important work now. And that is what Jah is showing us with all of us going on outside of the world now, is for what is to come in creation. You have to do this work to be prepared. And it is only the fittest of the fittest that will survive into the next section of, what's going on in earth.
Okay, there's a question about...
What is your question about Ma'at?
We're all watching for the typing, or you can come off mute, okay?
Yes. Why did I choose this principle? I chose the principle of Ma'at because 1, it is a feminine principle. 2, I was very drawn, like I am a Gemini, yeah? And my mood is Libra, like the scales matter to me, like that duality matters to me. So the idea of balancing, your heart against a feather, like that knowledge hit me so profoundly. Like the first time I was made aware of that principle, I felt so, I felt low. almost, because I started immediately to judge myself. Yeah, and it is through work and further understanding of the principles I realized it's not to judge yourself. It is to do the work. It is to do the work. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
To action more than a judgment. So I liked my art.
Yeah, yeah. That makes sense.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let me see. Okay.
Any other burning question? So Sheldon Lawrence played the flute on that. Junior Rodigan was asking early. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And before we go, okay, it doesn't look like there are any more questions. I'll say the 23rd of May, that is Saturday to come, I am doing a live session with some musicians here in Tanzania at the 1AA studio, and we're going to be going live at 12 o'clock, same time we started today. And it's going to be just a nice interaction. We're going live, which means you can be typing in your questions. I'm going to be able to see. It's going to be interactive. And I'm sharing some songs, acoustic style interpretations of the songs. Just an opportunity for me to share with you on my Earth Strong, because I like to share on my Earth Strong. So hopefully Saturday at noon, you and your family then tune in, turn up the music loud, and catch some vibes, you know. Performing some of these songs for you. I wanted to be on the road in your country, in your concert hall, singing for you. So I'll be singing for you from home.
Yeah. All right, perfect. So that's Saturday. That's what you do Saturday, everyone. And then tomorrow, which is Friday, you'll be able to watch the video.
Could it be tomorrow?
Yeah. All right. So again, keep in mind the questions that were posed today, the answers that were given.
Yeah.
Really beautiful time that we've had today. I appreciate your time and energy, Jah9, and I appreciate all of you who joined in for this. And I'm sorry to anyone that was unable to get in, because
all for holding this space and continuing to make space for not just, you know, the hypeness, but also for the substance. Yeah, respect.
Your hype.
Oh, hype? No, not really.
Okay, so before we just kind of drift off into the weeds right now, we'll end this session, and again, thank you to everyone. Pick up yourself, bless up yourself, and go drink some water, wash your hands, and do all those good things, everybody. Okay.
And before we go, last word. Breathe deeply in through your nose. Fill your belly with breath. You've learned, you've absorbed a lot today, a lot of different processes going on in your own mind. Exhale, release out all those things that no longer serve you. As you inhale through your nose, feel your ribs expand, feel your belly expand, feel your chest open, hold the breath at the top of that inhale. Bring to mind all the things you are grateful for, all the things that are beautiful in your life. And then as you exhale, ground them into the earth. Send them out into the universe, because it is the things that we are grateful for. That is how we communicate to the universe what we want more of. So protect your mind with gratitude. See you now.
All right. And that's how we end. Take care, everyone.